Coming up next on MASL PrimeTime, the Florida Tropics look to continue their perfect start to the season. Could they take down traditional power Baltimore? The Dallas Sidekicks were searching for their first win of the campaign against KC. Jeff Husted joins us via Skype to review what's happened in the Eastern Conference so far. And we take a closer look at the Kansas City Comets in this week's Team Spotlight. It's all coming up next on MASL Primetime. This is MASL Primetime. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Alex Bastiavansky. In the Eastern Conference, one team is certainly living up to its preseason hype. The Florida Tropics made a huge splash in the offseason, opening eyes with some big acquisitions. Ricardo Carvalho, Joey Tavernisi, and Gordy Gerson are just some of the top-notch talent the Tropics picked up, and the squad hasn't disappointed so far, having dropped reigning champs Milwaukee on the way to a perfect record through 4 weeks of play. But last weekend, another massive test awaited them. MASL champs 3 of the last 4 years, the Baltimore Blast. And there was a chance for the Floridians to once again put their talent to the test. Highlights in this segment are brought to you by Mitre. Mitre, the official soccer ball of the MASL. This was one of the most highly anticipated games of the season so far, but Florida just ran away with it. First quarter, Victor Pereiras sticks with it on the rebound and makes it 1-0 for the Tropics. In the second, bad luck for the Blast here as the ball pounces in off Baltimore's Juan Pereira. And yeah, Florida will take it any way they can get it. As you see, it just bounces in off his leg there. 2-1 Tropics after 30 minutes of play. Second half now, sloppy play by the visitors. Keeper William Venzela serving it up on a platter. FLA taking full advantage. Ricardo Carvalho continues with the hot boot, makes it 3-1. Gordy Gerson was one of the big free agent signings for Florida this year, and he's starting to get hot as he crushes the offering past Venzela to make it 4-1 for the Tropics. 6 minutes later, Lucas Teixeira playing the bank off the boards, 5-1 for the home squad. Scary moment for the Tropics in the fourth quarter, though. Gerson picks up his second of the game, lands awkwardly, though, and comes up hobbling. Had to be helped off the pitch, and that would be a huge blow if they lose him for a bit, so hopefully he's okay. With the score 6-1, Lucio Gonzaga, a screamer from distance right there to make it 7-1. Baltimore managing to get one back. Donatos Melo on as the sixth attacker. He pokes it in, but not nearly enough on this day as Florida sends a statement. The smackdown of traditional MASL power Baltimore, 7-2. Baltimore's troubles continued in Orlando. First quarter, Luis Mota smashes it past Mike Zierhofer, and he makes it 1-0 for the Seawolves. The Blast respond, though. Vinny Dantas one-times it in to knot it up at 1 apiece, and then just 55 seconds later, Tony Donatelli makes it 2-1. Orlando takes control in the second quarter, though. Omar Tapia, a rocket past Zierhofer, and it's all tied up again. 9 minutes later, Mota, his second of the day, to put Orlando up 3-2, and a little kiss for his woman after. At least I hope it's his woman, or he's in trouble. Late in the fourth quarter, Tapia, his second of the game, and it's a biggie. That is the game winner as Orlando pulls off a shocker. Huge. They drop struggling Baltimore by a 5-4 count. Okay, the Ontario Fury were looking to get back on track against Turlock after losing their first 2 games of the year. The Express hit first, though. Gerardo Jurado, sweet moves, makes it 1-0 Cal. This day and really all of week 5 belonged to Frank Tayu. He was a monster. Look at this beauty. Just a sliver of daylight to shoot for, and he finds it. Roof Daddy, all tied up 1-1. It was teddy bear toss night for charity. So here come the Bears. Great job, guys. Back comes Cal. Martin Arista inside out, and great finish to make it 2-1 for the Express. Back to Taiyu. He took over from that point. Beauty of a shot to tie it up. 2-2. Second quarter now with Ontario up 3-2. Frank with the free kick, and that is just nasty stuff. Way up top where Mum tries to hide the cookies. 4-2 Fury. Adrian Gutierrez hits back for the Fury, though, to make it a one-goal game. It wouldn't matter, though. Frank was just on fire. Taiyu finishing with 5 goals, 6 points total as he leads Ontario to the big 8-3 win over Cal. Okay, the MASL points leaders, and Frank has made a move. You see him in second spot now behind Edgar Gonzalez, tied with Nick Pereira and Vinny Dantas. And then it's Leo Gibson of the KC Comets and Max Ferdinand of the Milwaukee Wave to round out your top scorers through week 1. Welcome back to MASL Primetime. 2 weeks back on the show, we featured an old MISL game from the mid-'80s in which Kansas City hosted San Diego. Over 12,000 were on hand in KC to watch the contest. Decades later, the Comets continue to inspire a passionate fan base. And with a superstar like Leo Gibson leading the way, it's easy to understand why. Year in, year out, KC is a competitive force in the MASL. And we take a closer look at the Comets now in this week's MASL Team Spotlight. They love their Comets in Kansas City. Nearly 4,500 fans were out in full force recently for the home opener against arch rival St. Louis. There have been some big changes for the squad this season, but veteran defender John Sosa thinks they've found the right balance.
I think we're a mixture of youth and experience. Obviously, with Leo integrating himself as a head coach, I think there's been a lot of positive reinforcement from his side, a lot of preparation, a lot of hard work from the entire team. We just kind of blending in little by little, right? We understand that some guys are new and they still need to learn the way this league works, but we feel pretty positive about the team. We're full of great players right now. I think if you look at Ray Lee from the back, if you look at Ray Sari in the middle, if you look at Lucas Souza, that is still not clear to play, but he will be clear soon. I think we have a bunch of talent, Kevin Ellis as well, obviously. Full of talent of guys that, hey, as they continue to learn this league, I'm sure they're going to be impact players.
Leo Gibson, MASL superstar and the all-time leading scorer for Kansas City, takes over the role of player coach this season. And Sosa believes the transition has been seamless.
I think he's been smoother than anybody probably thought. He's been doing a very good job balancing himself as a player, balancing himself as a coach. He's preparing a lot, right? So he's working very hard to make sure that by the time he comes here, he knows what exactly is going to happen, so that way he makes things run pretty smooth from his side.
The Comets should be capable of challenging for MASL supremacy this year. They've got the talent to hang with any team, but Sosa believes it will all come down to the effort on the floor, knowing KC can't afford to take a single night off.
So we understand that we're good enough to give ourselves a chance to win every single game, regardless who's in front of us. We just have to bring it. We're not the kind of team that doesn't get to bring it. We have to bring it every single game.
Right up in front, shot, goal! That is a huge goal for Kansas City.
Okay, John Sosa and his boys were in Mesquite to take on the Outlaws, who've been extremely competitive in their expansion season, and it's the Texans that draw first blood. Rio Ramirez, the strike to make it 1-0. Second quarter, Leo Gibson doing what Leo Gibson does. Shock and awe. Look at that move and finish. We'll show it again in the plays of the week later on. 1-1, third quarter, Vicmore Eligwai, another spectacular strike. And the Outlaws actually led 3-1 into the fourth quarter, but KC managed to pull it out. And Mirko Sandovari smacking home the rebound to pull the Comets to within one. And then it's Gui Gomez getting a fortuitous deflection that ends up in the back of the net to tie it up 3-3. In the dying seconds of regulation with the game tied 4-4, Ray Sari nabs the game winner for KC, who started slowly but got it together just in time to grab the points?
We couldn't get anything going in the net in the first half. We kept it close in the first half, came out second half and did well. We went high pressure, and obviously the result shows.
Orlando was in for a world of hurts against the reigning MASL champion Milwaukee Wave. Ian Bennett just continues to be the man for the Wave. 7:28 in. Max Ferdinand to the Canadian assassin. And it's 1-0. Orlando tied it at 1, but then it's Ferdinand with another helper, setting up Angel Curiel. 2-1 for the Brew City boys. Second quarter, Luan Oliveira smacks the free kick past the keeper to make it 3-1. Third quarter, this looks like an instant replay. Oliveira, same spot, same result. Make it 2 for him. 7-2 Wave at that point. Final 15 minutes. Bennett just keeps on coming. First, he gets the hat trick with the sweet shot, and then some nice passing here by Milwaukee, and it's, guess who, finishing it off. Bennett with 4 on the day for the Wave as they spank the Seawolves coming into Orlando and winning big. 10-2 final score. Okay, let's go to the MASL Vault and check out Game 5 of the 1983 MISL Championship Series between San Diego and the Baltimore Blast. Look at the funky helmet the keeper's wearing. Love it. The Sockers in front of a huge home crowd, down the Blast 3-1 to capture the title. That was part of a run of 5 straight arena titles San Diego won back in the early to mid-80s. What a dynasty these guys have. Okay, your MASL goal leaders through 5 weeks of play. And now we got a new leader, Frank Teyu with 12, as Edgar Gonzalez had the week off for Monterey. Followed by Dom Francis, Vinny Dantas, Brian Aguilar, and Ian Bennett to round out your Week 5 scores. Hey, welcome back to MASL Primetime. Last week we had the voice of the San Diego Sockers, Craig Elston, on the show to review what's gone down so far in the Western Conference. This week we're going to take a look at the East, and who better to do it with than the host of the MASL Weekly podcast, Jeff Husted, who joins me now. Jeff, welcome.
Thanks. It's glad to be here.
Right, so I know it's cliche, but I got to say it. The East has been a beast the last 4 years. Baltimore won 3 straight titles. Milwaukee last season, and it looks like it's going to be an absolute dogfight this year again between numerous clubs that have improved themselves as well. What stuck out to you so far about the East?
Well, I mean, you said it. The East has kind of been the powerhouse divisions before the powerhouse conference this season. I mean, you look at the teams, you said it earlier, of the 5 MASL championships, 4 of them have come from the East. 3 of them were Baltimore and then Milwaukee last year. And then you've got teams like Utica who are challenging all the time, and they look strong this year. And then you got some traditional teams in the Midwest. So, you know, it's just been the powerhouse division, and it's looking to set up that way again this year.
Well, give me a comment on a team first. Maybe which squad has surprised you the most so far in terms of possibly having exceeded your expectations?
Well, you know, it's tough to say this about a team like Florida that went out and just bolstered their roster and added so many star players. But it has been surprising a little bit about how well all those players have gelled together so far this year. They've come out, and when you add stars and superstars like that, and you get a team that's, you know, of the 26 guys on the roster, 20 of them could be starting anywhere in this league, you start to wonder about how are they all going to fit together. You got a guy who's used to being the star. He's maybe the second, third guy down the line on this team. You know, is that going to cause problems? And so far it hasn't. If you've looked at all their games, they play strong, they play as a team, and now they're at the top of the conference. Is there a team that perhaps you were expecting a bit more from at this point that hasn't quite performed as well as you thought they would? Well, when you look at teams that you made a leap last year and you were thinking maybe they'll make another leap this year, you have to look at St. Louis. and they've had a rough start. They've faced two of their first games were against the defending champion Milwaukee Wave, which is a tough start for anybody. And then they went on the road to Kansas City and lost that one. So it was a little bit disappointing that they didn't build on what they did last year. But then, look what they did when they hosted Kansas City a couple weeks ago, and they didn't back down when Kansas City started to come back, and they actually pulled that one off in overtime. So I'd just say there was a little bit of a disappointment in the way they started. It's not to say that their season is over. I think there's a lot of things that they can do. And I've said this many times. Now that Everton is focusing just on being a coach rather than being a coach player, and he's brought in a few more of those guys that he has developed, I think you'll see a lot of good stuff out of St. Louis.
Vinny Dantas of the Baltimore Blast has been just out of this world so far. Near the top of the MASL scoring race. He had a 6-point game against Orlando 2 weeks ago. Just talk about Vinny's dominance so far.
I mean, Vinny is just a beast. Anything he does out there on the field, it doesn't happen unless he wants it to happen, because he just controls play. It's tough to get the ball away from him when he's got the ball, and he's got such a strong shot and great placement that if he gets just an inch of space, he's going to put it exactly where he wants it. As a goalkeeper, it's tough for them to defend a guy like Vinny Dantas because he can plow through people and just barrel on into the goal, or he can just dish it off to guys like Rayleigh or Diesel or any of those guys that Baltimore has running the line with him. So you never know what to expect from him because he's a big presence on the field, and he's just got a nose for the goal.
Definitely. We've got just under a minute. You are the host of the MASL podcast, which runs each week. Tell us about it. Tell us, viewers, just a bit more about what it is and what they can expect.
Yeah, the MASL podcast is something we started last year. You talked to Craig last week. He hosted it last year, and I'm excited to take it over this year. We put it out usually every Tuesday or Wednesday morning, and it's just a great chance for us to kind of review some of the highlights like you do here, and talk to some players. It's great for listening to when you're out working out or driving to work or anything like that. We try to make it a little bit interactive. We ask people to tweet in questions or send us messages on Facebook or social media. And it's a good place for us to just kind of get out more content about the league and what fans really want to hear.
Excellent. And maslsoccer.com is where they can go, obviously, to find you guys right there on the front page, right? So you're doing a great job, man. I love it. I love how in-depth you guys get on the podcast. And you know what? Thanks for coming on today and giving us your expertise.
Well, thanks, Alex. I love what you're doing here, too. So it's been great.
Thank you so much, my friend. More MASL Primetime coming up in just a minute. Welcome back to MASL Primetime. The first 4 weeks of the season for the Dallas Sidekicks have been about as much fun as a root canal. Now, to put it mildly, it's been a rough start for the boys from the Lone Star State. Heading into last weekend, they sported an 0-4 record and had been outscored by a huge margin. Now, this is a franchise with a storied history going back decades. They needed a shot in the arm and were hoping to get things back on track on their home turf against Kansas City last weekend. Game highlights in this segment are brought to you by Sports Resource Group, proud partner of the MASL, SRG, building walls that bring us together. Dallas desperately seeking a win, still looking for its first this season, and they start well. Cameron Brown knocks it in, but actually take another look. It hits him square in the chest and goes into the back of the net. 1-0. Arthur Evo makes it a 2-goal lead soon after, and understandably, they were pumped. Just before halftime, though, Ray Sari to Adam James, and that cuts the Comets' deficit to a single goal. The second half, though, KC getting sloppy. The giveaway to Cameron Brown. Call it an early Christmas gift that Brown is only too happy to unwrap. Fourth quarter, Dallas up 4-2 when it's Gustavo Piedra with one of the goals of the week. Up, over, and in. Nice header, too. as Dallas holds on and finally grabs its first win of the campaign, taking down KC 5-2. Okay, the Ontario Fury taking on rivals Tacoma. It was the continuation of the Frank Taiu show. 5:03 in, he makes it 1-0 Fury. Just before the first quarter ends, though, reigning MASL MVP Nick Pereira showing he's still got the goods. Ties it up 1-1. Second quarter, with the game tied 2-2, Mr. Taiu, top shelf, to give Ontario the lead. Second half, he just keeps on going. I wasn't joking when I said he owned Week 5, Frank did. The absolute rocket makes it 4-2. $1.30 later, Frank again, 5-2. You want more, Frank? You got it. A minute 30 after that is fifth of the game. That made it 6-2 for Ontario. Fourth quarter now, Tacoma down 9-5 at this point when Nick Pereira crushes the free kick. Top shelf, very nice, but not enough on this day as Taiu leads the Fury to a 10-7 decision over Tacoma. Okay, the Stars also visited San Diego last weekend, and Tacoma draws first blood. 3:44 in. Vince McCluskey cranking it past Boris Pardo to make it 1-0. 5 minutes later, however, Cesar Cerda tees it up, cranks that baby home to tie it up at 1 apiece. The second half, Tacoma up 3-1, and on the odd man rush here, Jamil Cox making it 4 for the Stars, and they were looking like they were in full control. Cue the comeback, though. Down 4-2. San Diego's Chris Gutierrez cuts it to a 1-goal deficit, and then it's Sarah bar down to tie it up 4-4. The onslaught continued. Slava Jupi Paripovic, some mustard on that shot. San Diego in the lead. This game was tied 6-6 late into the fourth.
Three and spits it out. It's 3v2. It's Pee-wee. Slav, score!
And that would prove to be the game winner for San Diego. They win 8-6. Okay, the naughty list for this week. Richard Sherman of Orlando, there he is right there, was suspended for 1 game for getting 3 penalties against Milwaukee. And this was the one that put him over the edge. Contact above the shoulder right there. The MASL Team of the Week for week number 5. Frank Taiu, of course, Ian Bennett, Max Ferdinand, Pee-wee Ortega, Luis Mota, and Juan Gamboa in goal. And our primetime player of the week, 3 guesses, and the first 2 don't count. Frank Taiu, obviously, who played like a man possessed. 10 goals in 2 games, plus an assist, as Ontario picked up its first 2 wins of the season. What a free agent signing he's been for the Fury. And our primetime plays of the week for week number 5. Number 5, Dallas's Gustavo Piedra, up, over, and in part of the Sidekicks' first win of the season. Number 4, Cal's Jurado, shaking and baking against Orlando, and the nice finish. Number 3, Florida's Lucio Gonzalez, the screamer from long distance. Number 2, Frank Taiu. There were about 5 or 6 we could have chosen for Frank last week, so take your pick. That one was pretty darn nice, though. And number 1, Leo Gibson of KC. Unfortunately, the video is just a little bit distant, but you can see enough. This guy just makes it look so damn easy. Take another look here as it goes off his chest, off the side of his foot, top shelf then, from the tough angle. Leo, we are not worthy. That is our primetime play of the week.
And that is going to wrap things up for today. But on behalf of everyone here at MASL Primetime, have a happy and safe holiday season, everyone. A reminder, MASLsoccer.com is your home base for all things in the Major Arena Soccer League, and there's all kinds of other social media to keep you up to date as well. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week.